Imagine an NGO that has raised over $1 billion to support the Ukrainian army. Imagine a civil society initiative that purchases armaments and military equipment. Imagine a transparent organization with an independent board and detailed reporting. This NGO exists. It is called Povernys Zhyvym, or Come Back Alive. It is one of the largest Ukrainian civil society foundations supporting Ukraine's defense. In this episode, we will speak about its work and about the ways you can help Ukraine. You are listening to the Explain Ukraine podcast. Explain Ukraine is produced by UkraineWorld, an English-language media platform about Ukraine run by Internews Ukraine. My name is Volodymyr Yermolenko. I am a Ukrainian philosopher, editor-in-chief of UkraineWorld and president of PEN Ukraine. My guest today is Kateryna Leshchyshyn, head of the International Partnerships Department at the Come Back Alive Foundation. This episode is produced with the support of the Askold and Dir Fund, implemented by ISAR Ednannia and funded by Norway and Sweden. Before we begin, a quick reminder, you can support this podcast on Patreon. We rely on crowdfunding to continue our work. You can also help fund our volunteer trips to frontline areas of Ukraine, where we support both civilians and soldiers. Donations are welcome via PayPal. All relevant links are in the episode description. So let's begin. Kateryna Leshchyshyn, welcome to this podcast.
Hi, and thanks for having me here.
Thank you very much for coming here and for agreeing to talk. So you are yet another representative of Come Back Alive, a great institution, volunteer institution that helps the Ukrainian army and the veterans. And we have a series of episodes here on Explaining Ukraine podcast with your colleagues. But I would like to ask you first about the institution itself. Mm-hmm. Can you tell our listeners a little bit how you understand your work, actually?
Oh, that's interesting, because the work that we are doing is not very typical in many other countries. So now I have this task or the pleasure of explaining what that is. So Come Back Alive, or CBA, it acts as a charity organization, first of all, that converts private donations into the defense projects. And we started as a super classical charity doing the fundraisers to help the volunteers that were the first to defend the country during the first Russian invasion in spring 2014. But now we switched into something unique that we like. And as Russian aggression grows and spreads, so evolves the role of civil society organizations. And today we are sitting somewhere at the crossroad of the military, defense industry, civil society, charity in the defense sector.
And this is a really unique phenomenon, because we can say that a lot of things that go to the Ukrainian army in terms of equipment, in terms of arms, are going through such foundations as yours. Yours probably one of the biggest, but we have also some others. And the figures are great. I don't know if I can ask you about the figures, for example, the annual figures that you collect and you buy something. But these are millions and millions of dollars, I can assume, right?
Yeah, that's true. You can definitely ask, and that information is also public. So you're not hiding anything. Everything is on the website. I encourage our listeners to open the website and go to the reporting page, because I believe that is yet another unique thing that we do. As of today, we have collected over $1 billion, which is unprecedented in the defense charity.
You mean since 22 or?
Well, since 2014.
2014, yeah.
But that's hard to compare what was between 2014 and 22 and since 2022.
Yeah.
But altogether, we are counting all the years within the last 11 years and a half, because that's important to show that we were established back then.
$1 billion is probably a budget of one such a big country, right? So,
yeah.
But people might ask, but look, why Ukraine needs some charity foundations? What is it because the state is dysfunctional? Is it because the army cannot get everything it needs and therefore it needs, volunteers? Is it because the bureaucratic procedures of the state are too long and therefore the army needs something faster. How do you explain it?
First of all, it's everything that you named and more than that. People that ask that question, they're lucky not to have lived in the wartime. They're lucky not to understand how that works. And it's been the fourth year of the big war now. And we have the Ukrainian government, we have foreign governments and our allies working together, and we still did not win yet. So if we have what we call the full invasion, we want to show, what's the concept of total defense. If that's a full invasion happening on all the fronts from the east, northeast and south, that's a huge line. It's over 1,500 kilometers. I don't know. It's like more than the whole border of some smaller European countries. It's huge, and none of the governments would be able to take care of that on their own. None of them. So we want to step up. We want to support the Ukrainian government, and we want to show that if you, as a country, you want to win, you cannot only rely on governments. And the war is happening also not only on the battlefields, but also in the mindsets. We obviously help a lot. We buy a lot of arms, that's true. We buy a lot of equipment, but we also show the resilience of the Ukrainian nation. And I have some of my friends respond to me on Instagram sometimes, and they say, when I'm tired and I am about to give up, I remember about you guys and how much you're doing and how unique you are. And that gives some other people the motivation to go further. That's super multidimensional.
And if we count the number of donators, the people who donated, what is the figure?
Thousands. It's hard to measure. It's thousands from all the countries, most of the countries in the world.
What exactly Ukraine right now? In which fields Ukraine needs volunteer funds? For example, is it the armament, the specific armaments? We had the conversation with your colleagues about the drones and the drone sector. They need to develop and the drone defense. Is it still something, right, like equipment? Is it still clothes? Is it still, I don't know, logistics, cars? What exactly?
I believe it's everything. Again, Ukraine has not won yet, so it means we have to do more in all the domains, in all the fields. At the same time, you may want to focus, then you're more effective. So what we have decided for ourselves, what we're doing is pretty much the first and biggest thing is material procurement. We do arms. We still buy the cruiser weapons. We buy different types of drones. Then, moreover, I believe you discussed that with Mr. Ross, because that's his project. And what I love about it is that we buy not only drones, but all the other components needed. The goggles, antennas, batteries, monitors, laptops, sometimes even chairs, as the guys are sitting in the fields, launching the drones or doing some other work. And then we do a lot of different vehicles procurement, vehicles of different type to get them get to the positions or to evacuate. So that's number one that we are doing, and that will remain relevant until we win in some sort of whatever victory means to our listeners. The other great portion of what we do is like testing new solutions. And we are developing something that does not exist on the market. And the government maybe they lack the time or resources to develop some things. I would often compare that like the enterprise companies versus the startup companies. So the enterprise would be the state here, while Kambakalai would be the startup. It's faster, more maneuverable, it can try new things, and then when it makes sense and we prove the concept, we are then happy to hand it over to someone bigger, the government of Ukraine or foreign governments that want to scale our solutions. That could be, as an example, the command and control centers for the UAV companies. That could be mobile command and control centers for the Air Force. Again, another unique thing, because the NGOs typically did not do that type of things. The other great thing that we've recently done was the mission planning center and the weapons, the munition preparation vehicles that work together with the F-16 fighter jets. And I really love this idea about, some of the Western or European and North American, some specific people were concerned whether they should provide F-16s to Ukraine because it takes a lot of time to do the infrastructure, to train the pilots, which is true. But now with that project, we also proved that the government can take care of the more strategic things, and the civil society can also be helpful and do something that no one probably expected, that the NGOs would do the mission planning center. We've done that. Hopefully, when we get more funding to scale that project, because we've done only a few centers, there is a need for more. Either Come Back Alive will scale that and we will produce more in Ukraine, or we're happy to share the project with someone.
So you showed that civil society is an agent, is an actor, if might say it, in defense. Not only as people, of course, lots of people from society volunteered for the army, and basically our army is probably the mirror of the civil society, but also as an institution. And you mentioned this analogy with startup, which is very interesting. But I guess this war also shows that this model is really needed, because the war changes a lot, right? It's changing very quickly, so you need to be adaptable. And the thing that you mentioned, that you basically help to test certain armaments, certain solutions on the battlefield, this is precisely what people need, and what, for example, the ready-made armaments produced like in Germany or somewhere else will probably not work here, or not work in a perfect way. And therefore, people need such institutions as yours.
That's true. And we have the foreign think tanks and defense universities learning our experience, understand how civil society can be integrated in the defense sector. In that way, they can also be prepared in case if war starts in their country. So that's an interesting model, super relevant in the modern world. That's true. Maybe one thing I'll add is we do not necessarily test the Western developed solutions or the technologies. Not always. It's more about developing some new solutions here in country.
Yeah. Tell me about your cooperation with abroad, with foreigners.
Yeah.
So I guess Ukraine, of course, relies a lot on our own citizens, and the donations are done within the country. Of course, there is something going on abroad. There are institutions, civil society organizations abroad as well. But your experience with working with foreign donors, both individuals and institutions, what do you learn from this experience? What does it tell you?
That's my favorite part, and that's my daily job. There are different things you can learn from that. First, the world is different from Ukraine. And that sometimes saddens you, because you want people to make decisions as fast. I mean, you want people or institutions outside of Ukraine to be as fast as Ukrainian, but that's not always the case. So sometimes I have to live in two realities simultaneously.
10 times slower, right?
Yeah. And that sometimes hurts.
Speed is horrible, yeah.
But at the same time, I meet so many people, so many internationals willing to help and eager to learn what's happening in here. And I feel like I'm building the bridges between Ukrainian institutions or Ukrainians and foreigners. And sometimes you just give them simple facts that they didn't know, and that widens their not the mindset, but the way they view the situation in Ukraine, and they face this aha moment, like, I didn't know that. So those moments are priceless, and I love that. We have so many cool stories. I have the donor from the UK, and his name is Joy. He spent over 6 months talking to different British banks that would process the transactions to the defense-oriented charity. So that's the other layer, that we have banks that do not want to process donations. And he spent 6 months working with them. He succeeded. Now he's doing monthly donations to us. And that inspires me. I know that our works inspires a lot others, but then he also inspires me. And we have like dozens of examples like that.
That's a great psychological barrier that we've talked a little bit before this conversation, before this podcast. So it's very often that the foreigners, for example, Europeans, will have a deep compassion towards Ukrainians, have deep sympathy, and really wanted to help, but they rather want to help refugees, or they rather want to help, some humanitarian things, or they might help medics, which is very important, but they are quite reluctant to give money to some military things, even to military cars or to weapons. How to persuade these people? Or do you try to persuade them, or you're just avoid persuading them and saying, okay, but yeah, we appreciate every donation?
That's an interesting part, and that is where my sales background helps me. First, obviously, I did talk to all of them. Then if someone is extremely negative and they do not want to support what we are doing, I would not waste their time, and I would not waste my time. There are so many other people in the world that would love to contribute. So I would rather pay my attention to those. And my task is to find the people who want to support the defense sector. And here's the thing. People have to think about the root cause problem. We can deal so much with the fighting the consequences, but wouldn't that be smarter to deal with the core problem, which is the Russian military invasion? I have a great example of the donor from Norway. That was their first donation to combat Mykolaiv, and they felt that is really like the type of things they want to do. They feel it's important, but then you deal with the military and like, where is that borderline that you cross? We spent a couple of weeks talking about like what exactly they want to buy. And after a few weeks of, can call it negotiations, I proposed them 2 different projects, which were almost the same. Same budgets, same timelines, more or less same equipment, drones, vehicles, antennas, all of that. But one was used for the defense operations, and the other was used for the offensive operations. And when they see the comparison, like you split the military needs into defense and offense, it took them 5 or 7 minutes to make their decision and contribute quite a lot into the air defense.
Can we really make this distinction in Ukraine, to be frank?
You can, between defense and offense?
Yes.
You can. The air defense.
Yeah, I always wonder. I remember I had a remarkable conversation on some TV program, and people asked me, the anchor woman or anchor man, I don't remember, asked me whether downing the Russian missiles will not be an escalation. And I was asking, wait, but we're not killing anybody. We're saving lives. We're just downing a metal piece of shit. So, and even that for people is a problem sometimes.
Okay. Well, for some of them, that will be a problem. I mean, I can sit and wait until that missile kills me or my parents. If they end up being in a situation like that, they would probably change their minds. We have to understand, and foreigners have to understand, when they think about military, I mean, where do they get the information? Either from the movies or the history, when the military or in their countries, the armed forces are the people who have chosen to serve in the military, who've done years of training and preparation, and for whom that's the profession. In Ukraine, it's about 80%. I bet it's even 90% of the servicemen or servicewomen that are former civilians, doctors, dentists, teachers, journalists, artists, musicians, photographers, all of them.
I never find professional militaries when I go to the front line, and I do that quite often. I never find them. I find just civilians who volunteered.
With all our projects, with however defense they or military they sound, it's all about protecting those people who switched their normal lives into doing the defense because that's super needed. They were not trained, or not all of them were trained to understand what is electronic intelligence or electronic warfare. But they feel that they have to protect their country. That would be super honest to support people that are defending ourselves. So that's a critical thing that differs Russian military from Ukrainian military. They have initiated the pure offensive operation. We only do the defense.
Yeah. And it's also going kind of we have a problem with some kind of norms of international humanitarian law that differentiates between civilians and military, and say, okay, you can kill military, but don't kill civilians. If you kill civilians, that's a war crime. If you can kill military, okay, it's a war. But the majority of our military are civilians, are former civilians. So what is that? Therefore, I would agree with the point that some lawyers are making, that the root cause, as you say, is the crime of aggression that provoked all other war crimes. Can you tell me a little bit about, again, the partners abroad, or your partners, our friends? Do you work with individuals only, or you work with institutions? If you work with institutions, for example, with companies, do you have this experience when a company says, okay, I want to donate $1 million?
I would say that it's rather the relatively smaller private donations. Like we talked about Joy, then I was recently checking the different donations. We have like literally thousands of transactions, so it's hard to check on all of them. And some stay anonymous or private. But we have the owner of the tourism business. They organize the tours to the Hawaii's highest volcanoes. And I don't know who that person is, but they've chosen to do the weekly donation, the weekly subscription with us. We have students, we have retired from the US, from the UK. We have companies from Germany that support us for the fourth year now, since 2022. But most of them are like just the donors. I think that we only have one foreign institutional partner, which is Fritt Ukraine from Norway. They are great. They work with the companies in Norway they want to contribute, but then that NGO in Norway, they have a very good understanding of what's happening in Ukraine, but compared to us, they know a little. So they choose to do the fundraisers in Norway and then partner with us to do some new. We've done 5 projects with them right now, different ones, but the most recent was for the Army aviation. I don't think that any foreign institution would be able to do that type of things that we've done here.
Army aviation is helicopters, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
It's very important. Our friends from the helicopters say that they are not very well sometimes understood or appreciated. So I think they appreciate your help. Okay.
We done so with them. What we did is that we designed the vehicles. So we bought the civil pickup trucks that can be bought anywhere by anyone. But we have improved them. We have strengthened them. We have put all the equipment. We have designed how different tools and equipment has to be settled in there. So all of that is then used in the search and rescue operations. And then time is also critical. So we work together with the end user and the Ukrainian industry to design all of that from scratch. And that's not something you would go and buy on the market. But we spent 3 months, I believe, doing that, the first sample. And then when it was confirmed and approved, we delivered 8 more. Covering all the need of all the 4 brigades within the Army aviation. So that's the type of partners we have. I think that's the only institutional partner we have. 5 projects with them. Hopefully we'll do more.
But then, okay, you got the money, and then also a difficult part begins.
Mm-hmm.
So you need to find those things that are needed in the army. And sometimes there are things that are not necessarily very easily accessible on the market, right? And sometimes there are technologies that you cannot find in Poland or in Germany, and maybe you should go to, China or Taiwan or Japan or whatever else. I don't know. Tell me about this part as well.
Then we developed that in Ukraine. That was the case in 2023. I was not at Kamakala back then. But we understood that we have to find the fireproof suits for the pilots, because that literally saves them lives. But the American company refused to sell that to us, which was not the worst thing, actually. We were sad because we did the fundraising and we were ready to buy the ready-made suits, but suits that they didn't sell us. So what we did, we just bought the material, the best fabrics on the market, and we sewed all the suits here in Ukraine, which was another good thing because now you give jobs to the Ukrainians. They feel more engaged and they get the experience they use even right now in 2025, and they'll probably continue growing next years. Sometimes that's a problem to spend funds properly. But then since we have a huge team that talks to the military units, to the commanders, we have pretty good understanding of the needs and the trends. So we get the feedback both from the people on the ground, whatever, like soldiers, officers. Then we as an organization, we talk to commanders or the general staff or the Ministry of Defense here in Kyiv, and that gives us pretty much the 360 overview of what's needed, and that is how we ensure that the projects are relevant. So that takes some time, but not that huge deal to find how to spend money.
Is it a queue or line of Ukrainian producers for you to get funds? Like, we can produce what you need. Give us contracts.
Yeah, I'm not in the procurement team to answer for them, but yes.
And that's very good that you work with Ukrainian producers. But going back to the foreign partners, what are the other ways of people abroad to support Ukraine, other than donations, for example, or other than helping with fundraising campaigns?
First, I'll have 2 blocks here. The first one would be super easy to do, maybe too easy, but as simple as spreading the information about what's happening in Ukraine, so that stays relevant and that people understand I don't know, that could be Twitter or Instagram. The more shares we have, the more donations we get. So sometimes you just share the information, you do not donate directly, but that helps others learn about what you do and get the donations. Take part in the demonstrations in their cities. I love that, for example, in Oslo, they have demonstrations every day at the parliament. In some other countries, they do twice per week, sometimes every week. In some other countries, they are not as regular. But I would probably love to see more Ukrainian flags on the streets, on the buildings, more information spread, more materials prepared by journalists. Now I thought about the other thing. Sometimes when I travel, we have a lot of books about the Russian-Ukrainian war. We have the texts and speeches of President Zelensky translated into English, which is very nice. Except for that, I would love more books to be translated. I mean, more Ukrainian literature or poetry to be translated into English, for example, so that internationals read not only about Ukraine. Ukraine is associated not only with the war, but also with the arts, with the history. That would be a nice thing to do. And the second blog that I was thinking about is traveling to Ukraine, which is often tricky. I understand that people that live abroad, which was the case for me as well, because when the big war happened, I was also in Spain. And then I spent a couple of months in Germany. And when I first traveled to Ukraine, that was scary moments. I first went to Lviv, Ternopil, and then to Kyiv. It's like, that's super dangerous, but okay, I'll do that because that's my home. So I kind of get how people feel about it. And if they read the news, and news are pretty often about the other ruins, about other attacks, some super negative things, they don't usually read about how we were drinking coffee this morning.